Are you tired of the violence, nudity, vulgar language, and all other negative things on television? Well, guess what? You are not alone. Lifevision TV is a new and exciting network for the whole entire family. Get Lifevision TV on Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, Apple TV, and of course on our website, www.lifevisiontv.com, and on Apple and Android apps. Lifevision TV, already making TV better.
Greetings, everyone. We're really excited that you've joined us for this month's edition of the Lifevision October Experience. Our theme for this month is wealth, affluence, and holiday spending in our community. Now, this is going to be a segment that is going to hopefully revolutionize your thinking about a lot of things. I want to talk about three things today that I think will affect us. It comes from the premise here of, first of all, that in the black community in the United States of America, here we are 150 years since we were property, and now God has blessed us to have $1.6 trillion in spending power. That means the money that comes into our hands in the course of a year through wages, business, inheritances, pensions, whatever. $1.6 trillion. That amount of money, if we were a country, we would be 15th wealthiest country on the face of the earth. $1.6 trillion. Now, unfortunately, on the flip side of that is something we call wealth. Wealth is the money that you get in, and you subtract from that and add up all your assets, your income, your furniture, your house, stocks, bonds, all that kind of stuff. But then you have to subtract from that what you owe out, the mortgage that you have, the car payment, all of that kind of stuff. And what you're left with is your net worth or your wealth. Now, unfortunately for us, that 1.6 trillion, which is an astounding amount of money coming into our hands, when you take out what we owe, our debt, our net worth is among the smallest. It's actually declined. When we climbed to 1.6, our net worth has declined to the point where we are next to the last of all ethnic groups in the United States. I think Native Americans are the only people that are under us in that list of net worth wealth. And we got to think about, what do we do to change this? And that's the theme of what we want to address this month. I'm going to talk about three C's. Three C's. The first is cable TV. The second is cars. And the third is conventions. I got it? Cable TV, cars, conventions. And you say, what does that have to do with wealth? Well, part of our dilemma is what we do with the money that we have. It comes into our hands, but then it goes out. And when it comes to African Americans, our money only stays in our hands for a very brief time. Some of the things we've got to think about is, how do we cut that off in terms of what we spend it on. So I want to start with cable TV, because it's the thing that actually I gravitated to as the first point of grappling with our wealth. Cable TV. I haven't been involved with cable as the vice president of the Baltimore Cable Access Corporation in Baltimore. And so when we moved here, we started our network as a means of focusing our attention on what we spend on TV. We happen to be people that love TV more than any other ethnic group. We watch a lot of it. And when cable came along, we've embraced it. We hold on to it. Only other groups have dropped cable, cut the cord, moved away from cable over the last 10 years or so. To the point where Comcast, who was the biggest cable company in the United States, had about 100 million subscribers when we first started Lifevision 10 years ago. Now that number has dropped to about 25 million. 25 million from 100 million. What has taken its place is streaming, using Roku, Amazon Fire TV and other boxes, Apple TV and so forth. People get their, what they watched on cable, the channels that they watched before, through cable, they now watch through the internet. I just want to share this quick thing with you to think about. We're in a community in Orlando called Pine Hills. Has about 20,000 families in Pine Hills. The average cable bill in this country is $180 a month. $180 a month. If you cut cable and go to streaming using a Roku box or Amazon Fire TV box or something like that, you would cut your bill to an average of $80 a month. So you save $100 a month. That's a nice savings. Over a period of a year, it's $1,200. Pretty much the equivalent of one of those stimulus checks that we got during the pandemic. But here's where it becomes really important. There are 20,000 families in that community of Pine Hills. It's an African-American community in west of in Orlando. 20,000 families. If each of those cut the cable, saved $100, that comes to $2 million a month just in Pine Hills. $2 million a month got freed up in Pine Hills. That's $24 million over the course of a year. $24 million in one African-American community. That's just the west side. If you did it on the east side, you could double that, maybe $50 million a year right in Pine Hills. Take that for 10 major cities around the country that are led by African Americans, and you're talking about $500 million, $500 million saved in just one community by cutting the cable. I want you to see that that's the kind of thing that we're talking about, freeing up money in our own community without a government grant, without lobbying City Hall or the government. It's in our control. Well, Saints, we've talked first about cable TV and the amount of money that can be released to go towards our wealth by simply switching from cable to streaming through using Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, so forth. Now I want to talk about the second C, cars, cable TV, and now cars. Yes, cars. You know, we're stylish people, and no matter where we are on the spectrum of our credit, we want to look the best and we want to drive a nice car. And a lot of our ideas about what is a nice car comes from what we see out on the road, but we're also impacted by advertising, TV advertising for cars. And we're also influenced by those who are around us. I'll give you an example. When my kids were growing up, they were part of the generation that grew up on VH1, MTV, BET, hip-hop stars, rappers, filming music videos with pretty girls and fancy cars. Rollses, Bentleys, Maybachs, Mercedes, Range Rovers. That's the kind of thing that they looked at as that was hip. That was what we ought to aspire to. Our young athletes, young men coming out of college at 22, 23 years old, they were buying these kinds of cars and Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all that sort of thing. And then not only were we influenced by what entertainers, athletes were doing, we were also influenced by the church world. There were guys with mega churches, thousands of members, big buildings that they were in, but also driving Bentleys, Rolls Royces, Mercedes Benz, and if you really got big, you'd have your own plane. So all these things influence the choices that we think are the things that we ought to aspire to. Now, when we consider our assets and liabilities and our wealth and net worth, of course the cars go on the asset side, they're an asset. depending on what you paid for them, how you paid for it. Not only are they an asset, but they also, if we had to finance it, it's also in the liabilities column. So when you take what it's worth, subtract what you owe, that's the net worth for that particular investment. And you add up all of those assets and all those liabilities, and you wind up with a net worth. So we have a situation where many people, in America, we even amongst the black folks with a high unemployment rate, 5 or 6%, that means that 94% of us have a job. We have income. We can qualify for some kind of car. And we've got to think about this equation as it affects our wealth. It's a very important thing to consider, because as wonderful as the car is, and the pressure, internal pressure to not look like you're driving something that's not what the rest of the people in your group are driving. You don't want to come to church in a beat up car and everybody else is driving luxury cars. But cars are a depreciating asset. That means when you drive off the lot, the car starts losing money. Other investments that you have, they grow every day. The car loses value every day. It becomes less and less valuable every passing day. And this is a problem for us because if you have millions of black folks who have a lot of their income invested in a depreciating asset, that means each day they're going down. And listen, my friend, cars have become very, very expensive today. Very, very expensive. I mean, to get a normal car like a Ford or a Chevrolet, a new one, an SUV, you may be paying $35,000, $40,000 for a car like that. But for a luxury car like a Mercedes or an Audi or a Range Rover, you may be paying $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, even $100,000 for that car. That's going down in value, and some of them go down in value quickly. And a lot of luxury cars lose their value very, very quickly. So first of all, it's probably not the best idea to buy a brand new one that is going to take a big depreciation hit in the first few years that you have it. So might consider buying something that's a couple of years old and with low mileage, and let somebody else take the big depreciation hit. But listen, when you start to put this into real terms and you start looking at our population of African Americans in the United States, imagine if, and I want to speak particularly to church leaders, because we're dealing with people who are saved and who don't waste all their money, drinking and drugs and partying. They're frugal in those respects. But if they aspire to be like you and you have a luxury car, they don't want to, misrepresent the church and your ministry. So they're going to strive to do the same kind of thing. We need a generation of leaders to come up now that move away from this old notion that as the pastor of a black church, no matter whether it's a storefront or a church with 100 members or 200 members or 500 members, that they must drive a luxury vehicle and set the tone for people's visions of what success is. If they all started buying a $35,000 car with a few thousand miles on it and saved $40,000 instead of spending $80,000, they spend $40,000 for a car. $40,000 now freed up in the community. Suppose you got 50,000 people around the country who took that plunge and decided, I'm not going to get one of those European or German luxury cars or British luxury cars. I'm going to get something that costs $35,000 or $40,000. The most up-to-date stuff in it, tech stuff in it. It runs on regular gasoline. Is not as nearly as expensive to maintain as the luxury car. Gets 20 or more miles per gallon when you go to fill it, when you drive in it. If 50,000 people around the country, a few in every major city did this and saved $40,000, that's $200 million. If 50,000 people move down from spending $80,000 on a depreciating asset to $40,000, $200 million now freed up for our people to use for investing in things that appreciate in value. Can you imagine what we can do if we just change our focus of what we think makes us successful? I can guarantee you, if you go to some very large churches of white folks, not necessarily the prosperity preachers, you're not going to see the pastor with one of those luxury cars. You just drive past the parking lot and look at the spaces where it says reserved for pastor. Check that against one of our pastors in a storefront that holds 50 people. You're liable to see the Mercedes there and not on the big white campus. Listen, my friends, we got to do something about our bottom line, our net worth. Cars is a good place to start. All right, friends, we've talked about 2 of the 3 C's that I want to address in building the net worth of our community. We chose cable TV as one to start with, the first C. Second C, cars. Third C I want to tackle is conventions. Conventions, that's right. Now, I'm going to say this ahead of time so that you all don't get mad at me. I have been in church organizations. I've been in social service organizations all of my life. I was the convention coordinator for our denomination, International Bible Way. I'm on the executive board of bishops, so we make decisions about the conventions and all of our meetings. But I want to show us that if we are serious about keeping money in our community, not having it flow out of our hands, it's directly into the hands of people who are going to use our money to do all kinds of stuff. They're glad to get it. Hotels are glad to get it. Airlines, rental car companies, restaurants, everything that's associated with traveling to a convention and participating are things that when we begin to examine the amount of money that we invest in these things, it is an outflow from the Black community to the larger community, and it's mind-boggling, the amounts. What are you saying, Pastor? Let's think about this. It was a large convention of one of our major Pentecostal organizations in Baltimore a number of years ago when I was still living there. And there was an article in the Sun paper about the economic impact of this group coming to Baltimore to have their convention. It wasn't their main convention. It was a convention of their auxiliaries. It was going to have $30 million in economic impact. $30 million. And that's not talking about what happened inside of the organization and the offerings that they took up, for the things that were needed to run the organization. This is the impact of the hotel's fees, the rooms, the meals, the banquets, the rental cars, everything, sightseeing, all of this stuff, where people were excited when the Convention Bureau told them this group is going to be coming on these dates. Get ready, because you're going to get an infusion of money that is going to be significant for you. That's one organization, $30 million within the course of a week. Now, if you do this exercise to all of the church groups, just let's take the church groups first of all. So you're talking about the AMEs, you're talking about the AME Zions, you're talking about the National Baptist, Progressive Baptist, Missionary Baptist, Church of God in Christ, Pentecostal Assembly of the World, Cool JC, International Bible Way. You can just go on and on and on. There are organizations that I can't even think of right at this moment. And when you begin to add up the impact of just the church groups coming to hotels and signing a contract to guarantee that there are going to be a certain number of room nights and that there's going to be a certain amount of food and beverage that you're going to contract from them, it comes out to hundreds of millions of dollars every year. Because we do these meetings, most of us have 2 or 3 meetings a year. Some of the smaller ones and then the big ones. It's a lot of money. Now, this doesn't include just the church groups, because we have the Divine Nines, fraternities, sororities. We have social organizations, the NAACP, the Urban League, all kinds of other groups that are meeting all over this country all year long. We call the hotels and say, hey, we want to come to your hotel. How much will you let us come for? And they are glad to receive our money, excited about it. And the pandemic, they lost so much money that coming out of it, they're going to help themselves to whatever money you have to make up for what they lost during that time. My friend, I've done studies. I invite you to do it. Just start thinking about how much money you spend in your organization to bring people together, and then envision it as if from all of these churches, and not only the churches, because it comes from the people who are in the churches, we are taking our paychecks, we're taking our hard-earned dollars, and we're bringing it deposited in Marriott and all of these other hotels. They are having a ball. The airlines are happy, the rental car companies are happy, the restaurants in the area. Everybody is going away with our money. We got to go back and raise some more money to come back again a few months later. We need to think about how we operated even in the pandemic. When we couldn't come together, we started using Zoom to have our board meetings and learned how to innovate and putting on services and revivals even and workshops online. Many organizations found themselves in the black in a way that they hadn't before, because they didn't have all the expenses that came with coming together. Sure, we need to come together. Maybe we just cut down the number of meetings that we have, but we need to look at holding these hundreds of million dollars that we're just dispensing freely and having a good time and saying, wasn't it good for us to have come together? Amen. The 3 C's: cable TV, our cars, and our conventions. God bless you.
Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted.
Guys would call him, give me these little sheets of paper and say, go dial this number, read off these symbols, and this price. So he started following what they were, he figured out what they were doing, and he started doing what they were doing, and buying shares of stock. That's how he got into it, okay? So a broker is nothing but the middleman who helps facilitate it, and they can do it electronically now in a matter of milliseconds, all right? Through what we call platforms, which is a fancy word for apps. I'm not fancy word for apps, fancy word for software. We got apps, we got online ways you can do it, but that's all what a broker does. Now another thing, the next thing I want to share with you guys is the difference between trading and investing. Because people, you hear these terms used all the time, and they're changing, and they're not the same thing. So investing is when you buy a stock and you hold it for 1 year and a day or longer. So you hold it for 366 days or longer, you are an investor, okay? Anything short of that, you're a trader. And there's different types of traders. You can have swing traders, they hold it for a few weeks or a few days. You can have day traders, they buy and sell in the same day. You have intermediate traders, hold it for a few months, okay? So you want to understand the difference between a trader and an investor. Typically, investors are in what we call fundamentals. I want to know what the company does, what the company makes, what are their projections, what are their expenses, and all that stuff. They call it the fundamentals. Traders, we're into technical analysis, all right? We look at the chart. Just like in the hospital, a doctor can look at a heart rhythm and see what's going on, right? And he don't even have to look at the chart. If that patient is something called VTAC, which means his life is in danger, he's going like this. He don't need to look at the chart to tell the patient's in VTAC is dying, right? So we become like chart physicians. We're stock surgeons, right? We go in there, we look at these charts because these stocks repeat patterns over and over, and we can take advantage of it and make money. Traders love volatility. You know, if you see something like that, that's flat market. Patient's dead. You want this, right? In the stock market. So there's a difference between traders and investors. Now, here's where it really got interesting for me. When I started looking at all this stuff, and they're saying about how complicated it is, I want y'all to think about this. A stock can only move in one of three directions. Up, down, and sideways. It can't move backwards, right? So when the stock market, all it can do is go up, go down, or go sideways. Is there anything hard about that? Matter of fact, is there anything that I've said that's complicated thus far? Does what I'm saying, do they make it this simple when you're watching TV and all that? Up, down, or sideways. Only three directions that you go. All right, then you ever hear about it's a bull market? Anybody ever heard that before? What does that mean? I was thinking, what does it mean, a bull market, right? Or a bear market. And it's a bear market. Oh, the stock market's crashing, all this type of stuff. So a bull market means the market's going up, or a stock is going up. A bear market means it's going down, okay?
Can you tell me what sideways is?
Sideways would be like this. So let's say you got a stock at $20 a share, and it goes from that to say $22 a share. You know, it could jump up that, or it might gradually, or it could go from $20 a share down to $19, $18. Sideways would be like $20.15, $20, kind of staying in a range, just like going like this. Okay, yeah. So that's what we mean by sideways. Or it could just stay at the same price and go sideways. Okay, great question. So we got a bull market and a bear market. All right. So the reason they call it a bull market is because when a bull attacks, it takes its horns and comes down and rears up. If a bear were to attack you, it would come up on its hind legs and come down on you. So that's why they call it a bull market and a bear market. I don't know who came up with it. We're going to name these an animal instead of a fish and a turtle or something like that, but it is what it is, all right? Most people, if I stop right now, you already know more than 95% of the people on the planet. If you went out here, if you went and asked all these people out here on the street, what's the bull? They ain't going to tell you, what's the meaning behind the bull? All right, let's talk about 5 things that can make a stock move. Not guaranteed, but can make. First thing is news. Whether it's true or not, news can make it go up or down. Rumors can make it. Even if it's not in the news, people start whispering. Chipotle, yeah. But Chipotle's name is true, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, it depends. But it can make it go up or down. Rumors, earnings. When you buy a stock, every quarter they have to report what their earnings are. But they project, I think we're going to make this or that. Wall Street analysts say we think it's going to make, and if they meet it or exceed it, it can go up. If not, it can go down. So earnings can do that. Interest rates. Right? You guys ever hear the Fed's going to raise the interest rate or decrease interest? Well, when interest rates goes up, it's harder to borrow money. When it's harder to borrow money, people have less money, businesses and individuals, so they can buy less from publicly owned companies. Stocks can go down. Vice versa, if interest rates go down, then the reverse could happen. Okay, everybody with me? Anything too complicated? All right? Now, the next thing you guys see on there is a weight scale, a thermometer, and a blood pressure cuff. Oh, I didn't? Unemployment numbers. If unemployment numbers go up, people have less money to spend. They buy less from publicly traded companies. If unemployment numbers go down, then they have more money. They go out and buy stuff from these publicly traded companies. Okay? Somebody know which one I get
The tissue.
Yeah. 5 minutes to the end? Oh, okay. Okay. So everybody with me so far? All right, cool. So I got this weight scale, this thermometer, and this blood pressure. Because when you go to see a doctor, right, isn't that the first thing they do? Is that even before you see the doctor, they just get the overall picture of your health. That doesn't mean you're not sick, right? It's just an overall picture of your health. So there's these three things that they use to get an overall picture of the stock market. They use these things called indexes. The Dow, DOW, the NASDAQ, NASDAQ, and the S&P 500. Now, anytime you hear that the stock market is going through the roof or anything like that, thank you, sir. Anytime you hear that, all they're talking about is the Dow. Okay? The Dow is made up of 30 huge companies. And these are big Exxon, Mobil, and the big pharmaceutical companies, stuff like that. They just take an average of those 30 companies. And if overall their stock value is going up, they say the value of the market is going up. The whole stock market is going down, they say it's going down. So next time you turn on TV, oh my God, the Dow went up 300 points. But the stock market, you know what you're talking about. If they say the stock market is crashing, they're talking about the Dow went down. That's all it means. It's just measuring 30 companies. But most people don't even know what that is. You know the stock market. Nobody knows what you're talking about, right? So these are little things we got to learn. Now, how many people in here want to learn the formula, the real formula for making money in the stock market? Because there is a real formula. Everybody needs their hand up? Okay.
Hello, my name is Gwen Bennett Gray, the author of the book, The Power of Start. The question is, why do most people not get to their goals and their dreams? The answer is, they never start. What I cover in the book are some time-tested principles and even some principles that I have created through my experience as a serial entrepreneur. The book is for folks of all ages, teens to seniors. It's about making the journey and remembering there's always divine intervention. You can get the book or purchase the book on Amazon, or you can get it from our website, thepowerofstart.com, and you can have it autographed. And what we have going is for a time as long as the gifts last. You also receive a free gift if you order it through thepowerstart.com. Look forward to seeing you and wishing you all the best. You have nothing to lose, all to gain. Just start.
Here at the Center for Clergy and Church Support, we help leaders. We help them use their gifts and callings to plant churches, ministries, and nonprofit organizations. We will also help you understand the best principles and practices to use to obtain success. This process can be challenging, so we will be there with you to help you make good decisions, or at least keep you from making big mistakes. Our programs will assist you in coming up with a strategy to help you grow and strengthen what you plan. For more info, visit us at www.clergycenter.org, because we are equipping believers to transform the world.
Hi, I'm Sunniej J, or Elder Sunniej J, depending on how you know me. I wanted to talk to everyone about this holiday spending. I love the holidays, love decorating, love gift giving, I love all the things about the holidays. But let's think about how we spend our money. Let's be intentional. Let's look at how we can help our very own communities. Let's support the local businesses, the smaller businesses. Let's support one another. Whereas big business, they get loans, they can get all other kinds of things. Smaller businesses don't a lot of times. We don't get lines of credits and things like that. And we count on our customers, our consumers. Myself, with Sunny's Closet. If you've never looked at it, check it out. It's sunneyscloset.com. I rely on my customers for my business to keep going. When you support your local businesses and the businesses of your friends and your family members and things like that, you're keeping money in your community. That same money that is in the community supports the community. It supports the local churches, it supports the local charities, and those things support you. So let's be intentional how we spend our money. Let's make sure as we're doing our holiday shopping that we support those around us that support us, right? So think about who you know that has a small business. Most of us have friends that have small businesses. And even if it cost you a little bit more, in the long run it didn't, because that business supports our community. Now think about that. If we keep the money circulating within our community, it builds our community. So we really got to support one another, because it really does make the difference between a business open or a business closing. And sometimes we see a business closing and we say, oh, wow, I really like that business. I hate that they closed. But did you support them? Were you consciously supporting them? Did you tell other people about it for them to come and support that business? Even if it meant driving a little bit out of your way. Sometimes this might not be the most convenient, but we have to support one another. Now, I love shopping like everyone else does, but I also like being conscious on how I spend my money. Gift giving, those things is wonderful, but be conscious of how you spend your money and how much money you spend. You know, a lot of people go into debt for the holidays, and then it takes them the next year to pay off the debt that they built that holiday, and they go through that cycle again and again and again. So let's think about how we spend our money. Now, I do guilt-free $5 guilt-free jewelry shopping Saturdays, right? And we're on Facebook at Sunny's Closet on Saturdays from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. where everything is $5. Like my ring, like my bracelet, $5, right? Makes great gifts, great thank you gifts for, members of your church, members in your family, your choir members, your co-workers, and things like that. It's a great way just to say thank you. We appreciate you, your hairstylist, your nail tech, or whomever, right? But we think about how we spend our money. And then we support smaller businesses. So it doesn't mean that you don't go to any of the larger stores to do, I don't sell a washing machine or dryer or refrigerator or anything like that. But there are other people that we know that do. I don't, but there are people that we know that do. Let's support them. Let's keep that in mind. Let's be conscious of how we spend our money. I'm always looking to support other businesses. other charities, other people that are having events. If you know somebody that is a playwright and gives a play, buy a ticket and go. Tell somebody else to buy a ticket. If you know an author, buy their book. That's how we support one another. And we have to do it consciously. You might say, well, I don't read. But think of it as a donation. If the book is $15 or $20, then you just made a donation. But you're helping somebody else to live their dream and to continue to do what they do. Same thing with churches, right? Churches a lot of times give out all kinds of toys at Christmas time, bikes and things like that. Some of them is from the church for the monies that they've collected. Some of it's from other organizations that they get those donations from, but they're still taking the time to give it out. Or they feed the hungry, or they do meals at Christmas times and or holiday times, Thanksgivings or whatever. Support them because they support us. Be intentional. This is that year that we really have to think, how do we spend our money? There's a lot of money that comes into the minority community. There is a lot of money that comes into our community. The other businesses know we're going to go and spend our money. We are a large part of the spending dollar. We are a large part of putting businesses into the black. This time of year is when most businesses go into the black because all of that money is coming in a short period of time. Let's be intentional. Let's support our local businesses. Let's support our small businesses. Let's support our family members and our friends that have businesses. Let's see, who can we support today? Who can we buy something today? For ourselves, for our family, or as a gift. Make your Christmas shopping list and think about what small business owner could supply that item for you. What friend that you know has a business that has that item or could make that item. We have people that make t-shirts, that make mugs, that, we're creative. We make all kinds of things. Let's support one another. If you don't hear anything else I say, be intentional how you spend your money. Let it circulate in the community because that supports us and our children and our friends and our families and generations to come. Be intentional. If you've never thought about it before, be intentional how you spend your money today, tomorrow, and as we go into the shopping season, we're all going to spend. But let's support small businesses, the local businesses, our friends' businesses, our families' businesses. And if we do all of that, all of us together will have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. Again, this is Sunny J. Stop by GLS TV Plus and watch something today. We've got great shows. And as a business owner, spend some of your money on buying ads on some of our independent local stations as well. So, kicking off the holiday season, I wish you a blessed holiday season. And all I can say is be intentional on how you spend your money.
Good afternoon. If you know this song, won't you sing it with me, okay? Who am I? You are mindful of me, that you hear me when I call. Is it true you are thinking of me, that you love me? It's amazing. Oh, I am a friend of God. Come on, friend.
Hello, friend. I'm Dr. Ken, your financial coach. It's just a delight to be able to share with you some financial tips and some things that I believe will bless you and help you navigate through these very difficult financial times. We're in the middle of what they call an economic pandemic, and everybody is feeling the squeeze one way or another. And perhaps some of you could have lost the job. Maybe your business folded. Or perhaps you just feel like, I don't know what I'm going to do next with my finances. Well, I got good news for you. There are answers, there are solutions, and believe it or not, it has been in times like these that some of your greatest millionaires were birthed. Could that be you? I want to talk today about mastering your finances, just getting control of that money thing. I know you felt many a times, man, if I could just get this money thing together. You got the career kind of going, you got the family life going pretty well, but those finances are like the bread between the sandwich. When that's in order, it seems like everything else seems to just fall in place. So I want to take a few moments to share with you some things about how you can master your finances. Now, I've been teaching finances for over 20 something years. I'm an accountant by trade, a master certified estate planner. So I know a little something about money and finances. However, when it comes down to having your money, especially in the kingdom of God, there is what we call warfare. It seems like opposing forces that will always bring you to a place where you just don't know what to do with your finances and money. But I want to tell you today, there is victory, there is hope, and I want to give you some of the principles I've learned over the years that took me out of debt not once, but twice. Because we'll be honest, some people get out of debt and you just find yourself successfully falling back in debt. And I'm sure many of us got out of debt after the 2007 through 2014, what we call the Great Recession. But here it is again. We'll find ourselves slipping back in debt. Well, it's okay, because if you can get out before, you can get out again. But you need to know the principles. Now, the reason why I like to teach financial principles, because principles will work anytime, anywhere, with anyone. You just have to apply them. And so let's look at some of that. Now, I'm a biblically based teacher, so I want to give you some scriptures and just that I have kind of leaned on that have helped me over the years, and I know they will help you too. And this is in Psalms 34:6. This is one of my favorite, and I want to just read this in your hearing, and it's going to be a blessing to you. And it says this. It says, "This poor man cried out, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all of his troubles." Now notice David is crying out down to David. This is King David, but he's not a king now, okay? He's literally a fugitive running from King Saul for his life, struggling from cave to cave. And sometimes we find ourselves not quite in the place we were ordained to be. Here he is, destined to be a king, a wealthy king, but yet he finds himself poor and running from King Saul. But it's in that moment he does something that all of us have to do, and that's first look to God. He cries out and he says, "This poor man cried, and the Lord," I want you to hear that, "the Lord delivered him out of all of his troubles." Now notice there, he's poor, he's crying, and when he gets delivered, he says all of these troubles, plural, because there's something about financial struggle and trouble that brings about a whole lot of trouble in your life. I mean, come think about it. People today get sick because they say most sicknesses are psychosomatic, which means that it's because of stress and mental anguish and in their finances. And here they are now sick. They say the number one cause of stress is heart failure. Death is heart failure. Number one cause. The number one cause of heart failure is stress. Well, the number one cause of stress is debt, financial debt. So you get the financial debt out of your life, then we get the stress out of your life, then we can add years to your life. So debt has effect on your physical being, has effect on your relationships. 90% of all marriages are literally in divorce or financial struggles. It affects your life in so many ways. It messes with your self-esteem, your confidence. You become gun shy, and applying for many things. Why? Because of the finances. Let's look at it real quick. Now, David cries out and the Lord deliver him. So that's principle number one. Cry out to the Lord and he will answer. Now, how does he do that? Well, Luke, the 16th chapter, gives this profound statement, and this is something that Jesus said. And this is where this whole topic of mastering your finances come from. In Luke 16, now, this is what Christ said, okay? He makes these very profound statements. He says, and I say to you, make friends with yourselves with unrighteous mammon. That's money, possession, and things. And when you fail, they may receive you into everlasting home. Now, some people interpret that as Christ saying that you'll make it to heaven, but that's not what he was referring to. He was talking about having security, that when you handle money right with the right people, when you fail or when you hit a difficult time, you'll have somewhere to go. You'll know somebody. So that's why it's important, he says, to manage the money that you see. Then he goes on to say, look at this. He who is faithful in that which is least is also faithful in much. He which is unjust in least is unjust in much. Well, what he says there is that faithful is another word for trustworthy. If you can't be trusted with a little, how are you going to have a lot of money? So every time you get a bill, every time you buy a car and you have an opportunity to pay back or to make the payments, you got to be faithful in that. You got to be faithful in anything that you do financially. But it starts off with the small. Why are you asking God for $1 million and you can't even handle 10,000? So you practice here. You start here. What do I have before me? Let me be faithful to pay what I have. Now, this doesn't sound like, you probably thought I was going to give you some great financial tips from Wall Street market, but it doesn't start there. It all starts with the intangibles in our life. You see, your inner world determines your outer world. When you make up in your mind you're going to be a trustworthy person, then God says, you know what, I'm going to get in your finances because you can be trusted. So if you're not trusted with little, you're not going to be trusted with much. Okay? And if you are trusted with little, you will be trusted with much. Here's another powerful principle he says here. He says, if you have not been trustworthy or faithful in another man's, who will give you your own? So here it is. He says, if you borrow something or you're renting something, whatever you're doing that belongs to someone else, and you find yourself in a position of serving them, Christ says, you need to serve that man or serve in that, whether it's your business, your job, your ministry, wherever you're serving, you do it as unto God and you do it as if it's your own. You know, every time I've had an apartment, I'm telling you, when I gave that apartment back or when that lease was up, I made sure that apartment looked better when I gave it back than when I went into it. Why? Because I understood this principle. How many times do you clean your car? Keep your car in a busy place. Why would God trust you with a Rolls Royce if you can't even keep up with a hoopty? These are the things that we miss. And when we talk about mastering your finances, he says, handle what you have, and especially if it belongs to someone else. And I don't know how God does it. He's just an awesome God. Before you know it, he just starts opening doors. Before you know, you start getting phone calls from other people, and God lifts you out of the place where you are and puts more in your hands, and he blesses you with your own. That's where we start in mastering our finances. What do? We make money our friend. We take our business transactions serious, understanding that how we handle money and relationships affects our future. All right? Number two, what else do? We're trustworthy with little. I'm telling you, God has this awesome way of just taking little and making it much. You say, well, I just have about $20 in my bank account. Hey, if you do what's right with that 20, before you know it, you'll have 20,000. He takes little, but he's looking for the faithfulness. He's looking for the trustworthiness. So I don't have a money problem. I have a trust problem. But you can fix that. You can start right now and start trusting. And then lastly, he says, what is it that I have that I'm using of someone else's? Is it my employer? Am I serving at his office? Or is it an account that someone has blessed me with and now I'm handling and managing their assets? He says, if you manage someone else's with integrity, he says, guess what? I will bless you with your own. I'm telling you, God is an awesome God. I hope these points that I've shared, I'm going to come back again with mastering your finances. We're just getting started, but I hope these nuggets that I've shared with you today will jumpstart you from where you are so that you can live in a place of financial abundance. I believe, and I'll keep on saying, it's your time and your turn for financial freedom. Well, this is Dr. Ken, your financial coach, saying to you, listen to some of the offers, some of the things we're going to put in your hands so that you'll be able to better manage your finances and experience the abundant life that God has planned for you. That's what we want you to have, and that's what you're going to get. Okay, this is Dr. Ken saying to you, it's your time and turn for financial increase.
Lifevision is built to allow anyone that wants to be a part to join with us and share your message or your talent. Lifevision TV, Lifevision Radio, social media, whether you have a product, a service, podcast, a ministry, if you are a coach, we want to help you take your message to an international audience.
If your gift is in sales, you can create a steady income, part-time or full-time. We want to make it happen for you. All you have to do is register for free right now, and you can do what you need to do, and we will let it happen just for you. Do it right now on Lifevision.
God bless you.
It amazes me what people spend their time on. I'm literally like so intrigued by the things that people spend their time on that do not give them a good return.
People search their whole life trying to find what's real. I'm in a search long just like you. But I'm glad to know after a search so long, happy that
I want you to think about that in this season, because we're talking a lot about money, and what you do with your time and energy is a currency, because time is precious and you do not get these 24 hours back. How you spend your day, how you spend your week, how you spend your holidays, how you spend your downtime, how you spend your thought life, your energy, what you ruminate over. All of these things are super important, and they are what you are actually investing in. I love that we have agency, we have free will, we have the power to go where we want to go, to do what we want to do. I know you think you have to go to work. I know you think you have to be around those people, but in reality, you are in charge of your life and you get to decide where you go. And once you realize that, all of the attitude that you have, all of the energy that you use to complain, the energy that you use to talk negatively, you really have the power to change that by making decisions to invest in doing things that you actually want to do. Like, you don't have to go to that job. You don't have to go to that church. You don't have to hang out with that circle of people. You don't have to. You just choose to. So I want to talk for a moment about how Jesus chose to spend his time. Sure, Jesus made it clear, I'm about my Father's business. Whenever people tried to pull him out of it, he reminded them that I am here to do the things that the Father sent me to do. He's clear about his purpose. And some of you, you're pretty clear about your purpose, but what you do with your time and your energy doesn't match. So I love that in Luke chapter 10, I think around verse 38, there's this story of Jesus going to hang out with 3 people who he loved to invest his time, energy, and resources in. And vice versa. There was reciprocity in that relationship. So he loved to go to Mary, Martha, and Lazarus' house. He considered them friends. And I think that's super important as we even go into the holiday season, that you make sure that you are spending time with people who pour back into you, that it's not one-sided, that it's not lopsided. Most of us spend our life with the notion that we have to be around certain people because we share DNA. And that is a beautiful thing if those people value you and treat you with honor and treat you with respect. But even Jesus, there's no biblical proof that Jesus went and spent time at the house of his brothers or his sisters. But there is a record that says whenever Jesus was in Bethany, he went and hung out with Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. So Jesus spent his time with people who he chose to spend his time with. And I salute you. If you make a decision to prioritize people in your life who you view as important, then I salute you for making that decision. I salute you for choosing people who choose you. I salute you for making the choice to go where your heart is. And I just believe that we are in a day and time now where people are becoming more at home with themselves and more true to themselves and more authentic about who they are and what they actually need. And they're making decisions that actually allow them to show up and live their life. I know I'm talking to somebody. You've invested years of your life living life for other people. So now it is your time to actually live the life that God has called you to live. And Jesus is proof that you can be in your purpose. And Jesus spent a lot of time around naysayers, around people who were trying to catch him in something, people who were trying to call him a devil, people who were trying to demonize him. And so when he decided that he wanted some downtime, he needed to go to a place where there was going to be some food on the table. There was going to be some quality conversation. There were going to be some people that he considered safe and people that he considered valuable, and they valued him as well. And so I encourage you to find people who fill you. Find relationships and spaces that make you feel like you are valuable, because you are. And that's it. That's all I have to say. Spend your money where you want, spend your time where you want, but make investments that you don't have to be bitter and angry and upset about. Choose people who choose you. I'm the real Sherry Grant.